Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshuram Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prashaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashkatadi Shatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadada Shivasadi Go Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna devotees, welcome everyone for today morning reading and discussion from Bhagavad Gita. We are on the 15th chapter, and yesterday we were reading about Shri Krishna maintains all the living entities. And Krishna says in 12th verse, Yadaditya katam tejo jagad bhasate akhilam yachandrasi yachag tattejo vidhimamakam. It is only my splendor, my energy, or tej, splendor is the same thing, by which the sun, the moon, the fire illuminates, or the source of their splendor is Tat Tejo Vidhi Mamakam. And then we discuss about, Prabhupada discuss about how the sun and the moonlight and the fire have their great impact and significance for our life. Then Krishna says, not only this, text number 13, Gam avishya cha bhutani dharyami hamojasah ushnami chaushadhi sarva somo bhutva rathatmakaha. I is the one who hold all the planets together. I am the one which nourishes the fruits and vegetables, and also rasatmakaha. I am the one who supplies the juice to all the vegetables through soma, through the moon. And then in text number 14, Krishna says, not only this, I am also the fire of digestion. Jajaragni aham vaishvanaro bhutva praninam dehamashita prana prana samayuktaha pachamyanam chaturvidam. And because of which you are able to digest. And now we come to the 15th verse, the verse for today's discussion. Oh, that is a shitty option. Yeah, now Krishna says, not only for the gross body, but also the subtle body. Sarvasya chaham hridhi sannivishto mata smriti jnanam apohanam cha vedaischa sarve hameva vidyo vedanta krit veda videva chaham. From me comes smriti, from me comes jnana, from me comes apohanam, ignorance, forgetfulness. I reside in the heart of every living entity. We have discussed already in 13th chapter, Upadrashta Namanta Cha Bharta Bhokta Maha Ishvara. He resides in the heart of every living entity as Paramatma. And then Vedaisha Sarver, I am the compiler of the Vedas and the goal of the Vedas, and I am to be known from the Vedic study, like that. So let's read the purport for today. There are two big paragraphs. We can have two different devotees read it, one paragraph like that. So I would like to begin with Mother Medhavani, your hand is up. Go ahead, read the first paragraph.
Purport by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. The Supreme Lord is situated as Paramatma in everyone's heart, and it is from him that all activities are initiated. The living entity forgets everything of his past life, but he has to act according to the direction of the Supreme Lord, who is witness to all his work. Therefore, he begins his work according to his past deeds. Required knowledge is applied to him, and remembrance is given to him, and he forgets also about his past life. Thus, the Lord is not only all-pervading, he is also localized in every individual heart. He awards the different fruitive results. He is worshipable not only as the impersonal Brahman, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and the localized Paramatma, but as the form of the incarnation of the Vedas as well. The Vedas give the right direction to people so that they can properly mold their lives and come back to Godhead, back to home. The Vedas offer knowledge of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. And Krishna, in his incarnation as Vyasadeva, is the compiler of the Vedanta Sutra. The commentation on the Vedanta Sutra by Vyasadeva in the Srimad Bhagavatam gives the real understanding of Vedanta Sutra. The Supreme Lord is so full that for the deliverance of the conditioned soul, he is the supplier and digester of foodstuff, the witness of his activity, and the giver of knowledge in the form of the Vedas. And as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Shri Krishna, the teacher of the Bhagavad Gita, he is worshipable by the conditioned soul. Thus, God is all good. God is all merciful. Thank you, Prabhu. Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna. Mother Priyanka, go ahead with the next paragraph. Go ahead.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Please start reading.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Ananta parivesha sasta
Antaha
janama.
pravishtaha shashta janana. Yes.
Janana. Sorry. The living entity forgets as soon as he quits his present body, but he begins his work again initiated by the Supreme Lord. Although he forgets the Lord gives him the intelligence to renew his work where he ended his last life. So not only does a living entity enjoy or suffer in this world according to the dictation from the Supreme Lord situated locally in the heart, but he receives the opportunity to understand the Vedas from him. If one is serious about understanding the Vedic knowledge, then Krishna gives the required intelligence. But why does he present the Vedic knowledge for understanding? Because a living entity individually needs to understand Krishna. Vedic literature confirms this. Yasau sarver vedair giyate. In all Vedic literature, beginning from the four Vedas, Vedanta Sutra, and Upanishads and Puranas, the glories of the Supreme Lord are celebrated. By performance of Vedic rituals, discussion of the Vedic philosophy, and worship of the Lord in devotional service, he is attained. Therefore, the purpose of the Vedas is to understand Krishna. The Vedas gives us direction by which to understand Krishna and the process of realizing him. The ultimate goal is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Vedanta Sutra 1.1.4 confirms this is the following words. Tattu Sarman Vyat. One can attain perfection in 3 stages. By understanding Vedic literature, one can understand his relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. By performing the different processes, one can approach him, and at the end, one can attain the supreme goal, which is no other than the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In this verse, the purpose of the Vedas, the understanding of the Vedas, and the goal of Vedas are clearly defined. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Continuing the discussion, text number 16. Dvau imau purushau loke sharaschakshara eva cha sharha sarvani bhutani kutastho akshar uchyate. There are 2 classes of beings, the fallible and infallible, Shara and Akshara. In the material world, every living entity is fallible, and in the spiritual world, every living entity is called infallible. Shara means fallible, Akshara means infallible. Purport. Ravi Prabhu, go ahead, read.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Purport. As already explained, the Lord in his incarnation as Vyasadeva compiled the Vedanta Sutra. Here the Lord is giving, in summary, the contents of the Vedanta Sutra. He says that the living entities who are innumerable can be divided into 2 classes, the fallible and the infallible. The living entities are eternally separated, parts and parcels of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. When they are in contact with the material world, they are called Jiva Bhut, and the Sanskrit words given here, Kshara Sarvani Bhutani, mean that they are fallible. Those who are in oneness with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, however, are called infallible. Oneness does not mean that they have no individuality, but that there is no disunity. They are all agreeable to the purpose of the creation. Of course, in the spiritual world, there is no such thing as creation, but since the Supreme Personality of Godhead, as stated in the Vedanta Sutra, is the source of all emanations, that conception is explained. According to the statement of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Krishna, there are two classes of living entities. The Vedas give evidence of this, so there is no doubt about it. The living entities who are struggling in this world with the mind and five senses have their material bodies which are changing. As long as a living entity is conditioned, his body changes due to contact with matter. Matter is changing, so the living entity appears to be changing. But in the spiritual world, the body is not made of matter. Therefore, there is no change. In the material world, the living entity undergoes 6 changes: birth, growth, duration, reproduction, then dwindling and vanishing. These are the changes of the material body. But in the spiritual world, the body does not change. There is no old age, there is no birth, there is no death. There all exist in oneness. Ksharak Sarvani Bhutani, any living entity who has come in contact with matter, beginning from the first created being Brahma down to a small ant, is changing its body. Therefore, they are all fallible. In the spiritual world,
Right.
however, they are always living in oneness. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, Hare Krishna. Once again, very important verse. There are two classes of beings. One is called Shara and one is called Akshara. And where do they live? In the material world is a place where Shara, fallible beings live, whereas the infallible Akshara, they reside in the spiritual world. And Prabhupada makes a point that in the conclusion of the purport, even Brahma being born in this material world is Shara, like that. Which means death is unavoidable. Nobody could have eternity or eternal life here. Text number 17. It's a matter of time when they give up the body. Uttama purushastanyah paramatmeti udharataha yo lokatrayamavishya vivarti avyayashvaraha. Just to make another point about Shara and Akshara. So like we have this pastime, ocean churning pastime from where the nectar came and the demigods drank it. So they drank Amritam. What it means is it awarded them very, very long life. The meaning is not that now they become eternal. So when we study this subject matters, we have to have a little high level understanding. What are the high level boundaries, the rules? Within that, you can be given certain freedom. So yes, they drank Amritam, but it is also, it's only awards them a long life, not that eternal life. That's just a point. Okay, Uttama Purushastvanne Paramatmi Tidharata Yoloputrayamavishya Vivarti Avyishwaraha. Uttama Purushastvanne, apart from you, there is no other Uttama, the Supreme Person Godhead. Paramatmi Udharataha. You are the Paramatma. It is said Udharataha. Yoloputrayamavishya. Trayam, Lokatrayam. This loka is divided into 3 parts: upper, middle, and the lower planetary. Avishya. And you enter all the 3 portions of this creation. Vivarti, Abhaya, Ishvara. And you're maintaining Abhaya, inexhaustible, Ishvara, the controller. Translation: beside these 2, there is a greatest living in personality, which is known as a Supreme Soul, Uttama Purushas, the imperishable Lord Himself, who has entered the 3 worlds and is maintaining them. Very interesting purport. The idea of this verse is very nicely explained in the Katha Upanishad and Shvetashvatara Upanishad. It is clearly stated there that above the innumerable living entities, some of whom are conditioned and some of whom are liberated, there is a Supreme Personality who is Paramatma. The Upanishadic verses run as follows: Nityo Nityanam Chetnas Chetnanam. The purport is that amongst all the living entities, both conditioned and liberated, there is one Supreme Living Personality, the Supreme Person Godhead, who maintains them, gives them all the facility of enjoyment according to different work. That Supreme Personality Godhead is situated in everyone's heart as Paramatma. A wise man who can understand Him is eligible to attain perfect peace, not others. So what's the discussion going on in the last 2 verses? In the last 2 verses, again, the difference has been kind of established between Jivatma and the Purusha. The Jivatma exists in 2 states, Shara and Akshara. Then within this creation, there is another living entity who is said to be Uttama Purushas and exists in the form of Paramatma. And that is the Supreme Personality Godhead. Text number 18. Yasma Sharam Atitoham Aksharadapi Chottamaha Atosmi Loke Veda Cha Pratitaha Yasma Sharam Atito Aham. Krishna says, Atito Aham. I am Sharam, Shara, Yasmat, Atitah means transcendental. I am transcendental to this Aksharad api Chottaha and Uttamaha means I am the best. Ato asmi loke vedecha. Thereafter in the world, vedecha in the Vedic literature, Pratitaha Purushottama. Oh, very interesting. So I am beyond the Shara and Akshara, and I am being celebrated Vedecha within the Vedic scriptures. I am Pratitaha celebrated as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Translation: because I am transcendental beyond both the fallible and infallible, I am the greatest. Therefore, I am celebrated both in the world and in the Vedas as that Supreme Person. Purport. Mother Indu Radhika, go ahead.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. Because I am transcendental, no one can surpass the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna, neither the conditioned soul nor the liberated soul. He is therefore the greatest of personalities. Now it is clear here that the living entities and the Supreme Personality of Godhead are individuals. The difference is that the living entities, either in the conditioned state or in the liberated state, cannot surpass in quantity the inconceivable potencies of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It is incorrect to think of the Supreme Lord and the living entities as being on the same level or equal in all respects. There is always the question of superiority and inferiority between their personalities. The word Uttama is very significant. No one can surpass the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The word Loke signifies in the Parusha Agama, as confirmed in the Nirukti dictionary, Lokete Vedartho Nena. The purpose of the Vedas is explained by the Smriti scriptures. The Supreme Lord, in his localized aspect of Paramatma, is also described in the Vedas themselves. The following verse appears in the Vedas. Chandogya Upanishad 8.12.3 Tavat Esha Prashado Smach Charit Samyuthaya Param Jyoti Rupam Sampadya Sevana Rupeni
Rupena bhi nishpadyate sa uttamaha purushaha.
Yeah. The Supreme Soul coming out of the body enters the impersonal Brahma Jyoti, then in his form he remains in his spiritual identity. The Supreme is all the Supreme Personality. This means that the Supreme Personality is exhibiting and diffusing his spiritual effulgence, which is the ultimate illumination. The Supreme Personality has also a localized aspect as Paramatma. By incarnating himself as the son of Satyavati and Parashara, he explains the Vedic knowledge as Vyasadeva. Hare Krishna.
Text number 19. Yomamevam asammudo janati purushottamam sa sarvavid bhajati mam sarvabhavena bharata. Whoever knows me as a Supreme Personality Godhead without doubting is a knower of everything. He therefore engages in full devotional service to me, O son of Bharata. Sa sarvavid bhajati mam. Very interesting. This is almost similar to what is that verse? Aham sarvasya prabho mata sarvam pravartate iti matva bhajante mam. What is that? Buddha bhava samanvitaha. So 10.8 and 15.19. Once again, Yomam eva samudho janati purushottam. One who knows me to the Supreme Personality Godhead. Sa sarvavid bhajati mam. Sarva bhavena bharata. In all respect, with everything, he engages in my devotional service. Krishna Chandra Prabhu, can I read the purport? Go ahead.
Hare Krishna. There are many philosophical speculations about the constitutional position of the living entities and supreme absolute truth. Now, in this verse, the Supreme Personality of Godhead clearly explains that anyone who knows about Krishna to be the Supreme Person is actually the knower of everything. The imperfect knower goes on simply speculating about the absolute truth. But the perfect knower, without wasting his valuable time, engages directly in Krishna consciousness, the devotional service of the Supreme Lord. Throughout the whole of Bhagavad Gita, this fact is being stressed at every step. And still, there are so many stubborn commentators on Bhagavad Gita who consider the Supreme Absolute Truth and living entities to be one and the same. Vedic knowledge is called Shruti, learning by oral reception. One should actually receive the Vedic message from authorities like Krishna and his representatives. Here, Krishna distinguishes everything very nicely, and one should hear from this source. Simply to hear like the hawks is not sufficient. One must be able to understand from the authorities. It is not that one should simply speculate academically. One should submissively hear from Bhagavad Gita that these living entities are always subordinate to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Anyone who is able to understand this, according to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna knows the purpose of the Vedas. No one else knows the purpose of it. The word bhajate is very significant. In many places, the word bhajate is expressed in relationship with the service of the Supreme Lord. If a person is engaged in full Krishna consciousness in the devotional service of the Lord, it is to be understood that he has understood all the Vedic knowledge. In the Vaishnava Parampara, it is said that if one is engaged in devotional service of Krishna, then there is no need of any other spiritual process for understanding the supreme absolute truth. He has already come to this point because he is engaged in devotional service of the Lord. He has ended all preliminary processes of understanding. But if anyone, after speculating for hundreds of thousands of lives, does not come to the point that Krishna is a supreme personality of Godhead, and then one has to surrender there, all his speculation for so many years and lives is a useless waste of time. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So the goal is to surrender to Krishna and engage in his devotional service. Text number 20. And I believe this should be the last verse of this chapter. Text number 20. Iti guhyatamam shastram idamuktam mayanaha etad buddhva buddhiman syat krit krityascha bharata. Iti, thus guhyatamam, the most confidential shastram, scripture, idam uktam, which means idam this, uktam means by me, or uktam means actually to reveal. Maya anagha, Maya means by me, anagha, or sinless one. So, hey, sinless one, Arjuna, anagha, by me, the most confidential part of the Vedic knowledge has been revealed unto you. Etad buddhva buddhiman syat, an intelligent person understanding this, syat, means what will become? Krit krityascha bharataha. Such a person will attain perfection in all his endeavors. Wow, what a perfect verse. This is the most confidential part of the Vedic scriptures. O sinless one, and it is disclosed now by me. Whoever understands this will become wise, and his endeavors will know perfection. Purports. All right, Mother Yagya, please read. There's a big purport. We'll have some of you read together. Go ahead.
And with pranam. The purport, Lord clearly explains here that this is the substance of all revealed scriptures, and one should understand this as it is given by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Thus, one will become intelligent and perfect in transcendental knowledge. In other words, by understanding this philosophy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and engaging his transcendental service, everyone can become freed from all contaminations of the modes of material nature. Devotional service is the process of spiritual understanding. Wherever devotional service exists, the material contamination cannot coexist. Devotional service to the Lord and the Lord Himself are one and the same because they are spiritual. Devotional service takes place within the internal energy of the Supreme Lord. Lord is said to be the sun, and ignorance is called darkness. Where the sun is present, there is no question of darkness. Therefore, whenever devotional service is present under the proper guidance of a bona fide spiritual master, there is no question of ignorance. Everyone must take to this consciousness of Krishna and engage in devotional service to become intelligent and purified. Unless one comes to this position of understanding Krishna and engages in devotional service, However intelligent he may be in the estimation of some common man, he is not perfectly intelligent.
Hare Krishna. Thank you. Mother Anjana, please read.
Krishna.
The word Anaga.
The one Anaga by which Arjuna is addressed is significant. Anaga or sinless one means that unless one is free from all sinful reactions, it is very difficult to understand Krishna. One has to become free from all contamination, all sinful activities, then he can understand. But devotional service is so pure and potent that once one is engaged in devotional service, he automatically comes to the stage of sinlessness. While one is performing devotional service in the association of pure devotees in full Krishna consciousness, there are certain things which require to be vanquished altogether. The most important thing one has to surmount is weakness of the heart. The first fall down is caused by the desire to lord it over material nature. Thus, one gives up the transcendental loving service of the Supreme Lord. The second weakness of the heart is that one increases the propensity to lord it over material nature. He becomes attached to matter and the possession of matter. The problems of material existence are due to these weaknesses of the heart. In this chapter, the first 5 verses describe the process of freeing oneself from these weaknesses of heart, and the rest of the chapter, from the 6th verse to end, discusses Purushottama Yoga. Thus end the Bhakti Vedanta purpose to the 15th chapter of 2nd Srimad Bhagavad Gita in the matter of Purushottama Yoga, the yoga of the Supreme Person.
Hare Krishna. Thank you. Now we come to the 16th chapter, titled as the Divine and Demonic Nature. So in the 15th chapter, at the end of it, Lord Shri Krishna is saying there are two kinds of being, fallible and infallible, Shara and Akshara. The same theme is continued here, where Krishna says, yes, there are two kinds of living entities within the Shara. One is divine, other is demoniac, like that. So let's take a look at it. Let's read. Very interesting chapter. Text number 1, 2, 3 of 16th chapter. Shri Bhagavan Vacha Abhayam Sattva Samshuddhe Jnana Yoga Vayavastitihi Dhanam Damascha Yagnascha Swadhyayasthaparjavam Ahimsa Satyam Akrodasthyaga Shantirapayshunam Dayabhutesha Loluptvam Mardavam Harichapalam Tejaha Shamadriti Saucham Androho Natimanita Bhavanti Sampadam Daivim Abhijatasya Bharataha. The Supreme Person God said, fearlessness, purification of one's existence, cultivation of spiritual knowledge, charity, self-control, performance of sacrifice, study of the Vedas, austerity, simplicity, non-violence, truthfulness, freedom from anger, renunciation, tranquility, aversion to fault finding, compassion for all living entities, freedom from covetousness, gentleness, modesty, steady determination, vigor, forgiveness, fortitude, cleanliness, and freedom from envy and from the passion for honor. These transcendental qualities of Sunabhata belong to godly man endowed with divine nature. Hare Krishna. This purport would definitely need tomorrow's time. It's a little long purport. The purport goes into explaining of all these qualities. So we'll pause here at 7:10. We'll read that tomorrow. But we can take this verse as a homework verse for our memorization today. Brilliant verse. Maybe we can just close with looking at the word-to-word meaning. Abhayam, fearlessness. Sattva, samshuddhihi, purification of one's existence. Jnana, yoga, vayavastitihi, equipped with jnana and yoga. Vastitihi means situated. So jnana or yoga ke saath. Dan, charity. Damas means sense control. Yagna means yagna, penance. Swadhyaya means study of scriptures. Tapa means austerities. Ajam means truthfulness. Ajam means, simplicity. Ajam means simplicity. And actually, Dama, Shama, Tapa, Satyam, Satyanta. Okay. Dama is actually mind control. Okay. I'll verify that again. Ahimsa, non-violence. Satyam, truthfulness. Akrodhas, akrodha, akrodha means how Prabhupada defines freedom from anger, akrodha, tyagaha, voluntary giving up, spirit of renunciation, shanti must be equipoised, tranquility, apishunnam. Apishunnam means very beautiful, huh? Apishunya. What is that? And nectar of instruction verse comes now. What is that verse? What is that verse? What is that verse? NOI text 5. How does it begin? Shunya adi hirdam ipsita sangalabdha. Anyways, so last line is Shunya adi hirdam ipsita sangalabdha. Yeah, Krishneti yasya Apishunnam. So Apishunnam means such a person does not find fault with the aversion to fault finding. Generally, we have aversion to glorification, aversion to glorifying others. And here the devotee is, saintly soul is aversion to fault. And he cannot find faults and he cannot tolerate faults. Daya, mercy, bhuteshu, daya, bhuteshu towards all living entities. Aloluptvam, loluptvam. Loluptvam means, archi. Aloluptvam means freedom from greed. Mardhavam, softness, gentleness. Kri, modesty. Chapalam, chapalam means chapalam, flickering. Achapala, non-flickering, determination. Teja, dharyam, ham tejasa. Krishna says, ojas actually. Krishna says, teja means vigor. Shama, forgiveness. Dhriti, dhriti means valor, fortitude. Saucham, cleanliness. Adroha, droha, freedom from envy. Vah. Na atimanita, he does not accept honor. Bhavanti, sampadam, daivim. So these are all the qualities of daivim, transcendent nature. Abhijatasya Bharata, or one who is born, or son of Bharata. So these are all the qualities of a divine personality. Hare Krishna. So this is the verse for memorization. Okay. So I'll also leave the recording and let's all try to memorize this verse. That's our homework for today. And then we memorize, as we get to know, familiarize with this verse, then we can know what qualities we should be cultivating. Jagadguru Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai. Thank you everyone for your kind participation today.